In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through step by step how you can use Claude Code to automate quotes for any trades business in one session. So I've worked with a few trades businesses with my company over at Innovio, and it's a very common process that I come across, and it's something that trades businesses waste time on every week, and it's hours every week that they end up doing this. You find that they're writing every quote from scratch, they're copying and pasting data from an Excel sheet to a Word document template. Now, this leads to hours lost every single week, months, years, and as this adds up over time, not only is it time that's lost, which can equal money, it also means that if your quotation process is slow and another competitor can get in there before that business, they're going to win that bid. So I've been quite conservative here, saying that we spend 4 to 6 hours quoting, but I've worked with businesses that can spend up to 20 to 30 hours a week just on the quotation process itself. So in today's video, what we're going to be going through how to build is a quote automation tool for these trades businesses using Claude Code. So what we're going to do, and what you'll find a lot of trades businesses do, is they fill in an Excel sheet and then they'll map that over to a Word template. Now what we're going to do is we're going to introduce Claude Code to read that Excel sheet that we're going to fill in of the labor and the parts or the bill of materials that we need, and then we're just going to hit generate, or whatever the case is. We're just going to drop in a file, and that then Claude Code is going to automatically generate our Word proposal for us. Now, instead of spending hours generating these, making sure they're correct, we're literally going to be able to do this in seconds. So what are the tools that you need for this tutorial before we get into it? So it's very minimal. All you're going to need is VS Code to download. So you can literally go over to code.visualstudio.com, go and download that, follow the instructions for your operating system, whether that be Windows or Mac OS. Claude Code, obviously go to the Anthropic website, make sure you have a Claude subscription, and then optionally, which will also be needed, is Whisperflow, and this is going to essentially allow you to talk to your AI, which is going to speed things up significantly. But that's it. That's all the tools that we're going to need for this tutorial. So if you want to get access to some of the templates that I'm going to use in this, head over to the link in my description, which will be to my free school community. You'll get access to all the resources used in this video and also all of my other tutorials. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing, like I said, if you haven't got it already, you want to go to Visual Studio Code online and then just download this for whatever operating system you have. So I have Windows, I've already got it installed, I don't need to do this. But literally just hit the install button and follow the instructions. It's really easy to do. Then again, you want to have a Claude Code subscription. So if you don't have that, obviously just go to anthropic.com, make sure you've got a Claude Code subscription. And additionally, like I said, also a really useful tool to have, even though it is optional, is Whisperflow, which is essentially going to allow us to talk to our AI, and it's going to speed up things dramatically, over 3 times as fast. Okay, so once you've downloaded all that, you want to open VS Code in a window, and you want to either create a new folder or go to one that you want this work to all sit in. So I'm going to hit on open folder here, and then I've gone to a folder which I want it to sit in, which is called quote automation. So I'm just going to hit on select folder. Now don't worry about the files that are in here at the moment. We're going to come on to what they are, and I'll make sure that all of this is in my free school community to get access to these. But you then want to go to your extensions tab, and you want to search for Claude Code, which is already here for me, but if not for you, just search up Claude Code and it's going to come up. You want to hit here, and then you want to install Claude Code, and this means we'll be able to use it in the VS Code terminal. Now, also something that's really useful that you're going to do, and I recommend you do it now, is you go to settings, and then you go to your extensions. You want to find Claude Code here, and then you want to turn on allow bypass permissions mode. Okay, so now if we actually go into some of what these documents are in this workspace, let's go through this first one, which is a blank Excel document for a made-up company called Swift Plumbing. Okay, so if we actually open up this Excel sheet, we can see it is pretty much a template for a company named Swift Plumbing and Heating Limited. They're based out in Manchester with a random made up phone number and an email. Now you can go through different parts here in your own time, but we've essentially got different rates for labor for doing different things. We've got different materials that we want to charge for, and any additional costs. Now, like I said, this might be quite a basic template, but the premise still applies for anything that's more complicated for clients you might be working with. Now, all a construction company would need to do is they would need to come in here, fill out the client name, fill out the address, fill out the job description, the quote reference date, when it's valid until, and then anything that they need. So if they need to install a new bath, if they need to have a shower enclosure and tray, a basin, whatever the case may be, they would just come in here and put the quantity as 1, and then this would add up in their totals here. So let's put in basin as a quantity of 1. You can see that the totals add up here, same way like you would in most businesses. So that's what the blank Excel file looks like. So let's see what the Word document looks like, which manually at the moment would be where trades businesses are mapping this over onto. Okay, so this might be an example of a Word document which the quote is getting transferred to from the Excel sheet. So like we have in the Excel sheet, we have a quote reference, a date, a valid until, who the client is, who it's prepared by. This might be standard, so obviously it's me in this case, and what the client's address is. Now we've also got a few other sections which are the job description, and also these are the itemized costs. So this is what's going to get mapped over from our Excel sheet directly into here. So this currently would be done all manually and would take teams hours at a time. So if we scroll down, we can see that there's a total cost here. And then a really key part is actually a technical description. So in a lot of times you might find in quotes that you have to write down what your materials are, but then you also have to give a description of what the technology might be behind it and why it's needed. And then the final parts here are just some signatures and print names and things like that. Okay, so that is what it looks like when it's a blank template, but let's take a look at an example of when it might be filled out. So for a made up client with a made up address and a job description, there may be certain parts here which we need to fill in for a specific client. So a certain amount of hours doing stripping out, a certain amount of hours for fixing the plumbing, a certain amount of hours for installing a new bathroom, and then same process where we're going on to the materials. You might need 1 for a shower, 1 for a basin, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to map this over onto our Word example as well. So again, I've gone ahead and opened up an example of when this might be filled out. This is for that same client that we were just on for that Excel sheet. So all of the costs that we've got in there, the labor, the materials, and any additional costs, again, mapped out directly over here. So you're going to see that we've got a total cost of 3832.80. And in our Excel sheet, we should have the exact same. Perfect, there you go. You can see in our Excel sheet, we've got a 3832.80 for this example client. So now we've got an example of what the template looks like empty and what it looks like filled out. We can give all 4 of these to Claude Code to create an automation for us. Now, you want to make sure that your files are in this space beforehand. You don't want to drop them in here as Claude Code actually struggles with reading docx and XLSX files. So you want to make sure they're in the space beforehand. Now, before we start anything, we're going to turn the setting on here to bypass permission. And now we're literally just going to begin speaking to Claude Code and telling it what we want. Now, a key thing when you're building some of these automations, what you want to do is you want to try and describe it in much detail as possible of what you want, but then also ask Claude to ask you any questions before it gets into building anything. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we're going to tell Claude to just have a look at the files, and before it builds anything, we're going to describe what we want, but get it to ask us any questions so it understands the context of everything. Hey, so I have 4 files here, which you'll see in the workspace, which I want you to take a look at and make sure you understand. But they're essentially for a company called Swift Plumbing, and it has 2 Excel files and 2 Word files. Now, in the Excel files, there is it's for a quote documentation, and one of them is blank and it has kind of the template that this company uses, and one of them is a filled out example. Now, the 2 Word documents, again, is the same principle. One of them is a blank template, and one of them is a filled out template. Now, what this company does, it usually maps over their quotes from Excel over onto Word, as you can see in the example. So I just want you to get, before you build anything, I just want you to get familiar with the documentation and ask me any questions if you need to. And then we're going to hit send on this. Okay, cool. So you can see it's come back, it's read through all the files, it understands what's going on, and it's just asked us a few really good questions actually. So it's asked us how we want to trigger this workflow. We'll get on to that. What the variable line items are. So it said that there's some labor, material, and additional items costs. Prepared by, so as you can see, it's hard coded, it's always prepared by me, and the AI technical description. So I'm going to go ahead and answer these questions for it. And I'm going to change it actually to plan mode. Now, plan mode is essentially going to allow Claude to think through how it's going to execute this automation, and it's going to create a really good plan for us before it tries to just execute anything off a whim. So let's go ahead and answer its questions. So yeah, for the trigger, what I want to do is I really just want to drop in a filled in Excel file for on a project by project basis with the clients that I'm working with, or Swift Plumbing is working with. And I want to drop this into the workspace in a folder, maybe just called like clients or something like that. And yeah, that's how I want to trigger this basically. And then from that, it will create the Word document that I want. Now, in terms of the variable line items, yeah, we always have those labor, materials, and additional items. It's just that sometimes it will vary project by project what is actually selected. So we might not need all the materials or all the labor costs or all the additional items. It's going to vary project by project. In terms of who it's prepared by, yeah, you can always leave that as Tom Hartnell for now. And the AI technical description, yeah, I want an AI model to write this. It needs to be a really good informed description, but obviously don't make it too long. Okay, so I've given it a bit of a description here, still probably a bit vague and things it needs to clear up. Let's go ahead and hit send and see what it comes back with. Okay, so it's in plan mode now and it's asked us a couple questions. So in terms of the variable line items, what do we want to do? I'm just going to click the first option here. In our trigger type, yeah, we want to do an auto file watcher, so whenever something gets dropped in there, it goes. So let's just hit that, submit answers, see what it comes back with. Okay, so you can see it's created a really good plan for us here. We've got the context, what files it needs to create, the Excel reading logic, the word generation logic, and everything that it needs in here. And it's got a step-by-step plan that it's going to run through. So I'm going to go ahead and hit yes and auto accept. Okay, and you can see now that it's starting to execute this, it's working through this to-do list one by one. Okay, great. So it's run through everything now. It went through quite a lot of testing to do this, but it's just three things we need to do now. So we need to add our Anthropic API key, which I'll show you how to get in just a moment. Then we need to start the watcher in the terminal, which is basically going to be a Python file, which just watches whenever we drop an Excel file into there that we want to be converted. But we're actually going to get Claude to do this. We're not going to do this ourselves. And then it's going to get us to test with an example Excel file. So let's do all three of those in order. So to get your Anthropic key, what you want to do is you want to go to the Anthropic developer portal. So you're going to go to the Claude platform. So once you've gone to the Claude console, the Claude platform, you want to sign into your account and then you want to head over to the API key section. So I'm going to click on continue with Google here. Cool. And then once you're all signed in, you want to go over to your API keys here. Now, once you have gone onto your API keys section here, there is a button in the top right which says create new key. So you want to click on that. Now, once you have hit this button here to create a key, you can create it in a specific workspace if you've got some, or you can just name your key here, click add, and then you're going to get the API key to copy over. So do that, copy the API key, and then go back over to VS Code. So I'm just going to call mine test automation. I'm going to hit add. And you can see I've got the key here. I'm obviously going to delete it after this video, but I'm going to copy the key now. Okay, so it says it wants us to put it in our .env file. So I'm going to go over to there and put that in. So we've got our .env file here where our Anthropic key is, and we can see that we've just pasted in here. So it now has access to our Claude account. For the second part, I'm actually just going to get Claude to turn on that Python watcher. So let's do that. So I've done part one where I've added my API key. Now for the watcher, can you just turn this on for me? And then I'm going to go ahead and create a Excel file now and drop into the client's folder so we can run a quick test. And then we're going to hit send on that. Now, while it's doing that, let's go ahead to our Excel file and create a something to test out with. So just a couple of bits I've got to put in here. Let's put in the client name, address, and a job description. Okay, so you can see we've got this all filled out now. We've got the job details, we've got the labor, materials, everything in here. So this should be able to correctly map over to our Word docs. Let's give it a test. Okay, so we've got our test file here. It looks like it's set up the watcher correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm literally going to drag and drop this over into our client's file, and hopefully this should start our automation. Great, so you can see it's actually produced the Word file now. So let's go ahead and open it, see what it looks like. Okay, amazing. So you can see it's produced the template here. I can't remember if this quotation part was in here or not. If not, we can go back to Claude Code and just get it to adjust that quickly. But you can see it's got all of the labor parts that we put in, the materials. It's got our technical description in here. It's got the correct price. I believe that was the correct price. The terms and conditions, and yeah, everything else in here, which we showed it didn't actually need to be filled out. So you can see that from start to finish how we just automated that whole process. Obviously probably a couple bits that we can tweak up here, like in the date you can see it's got the time here, so I'd just go back to Claude Code and say, hey, you've got the time in here, get rid of that, and anything else that we wanted to adjust. But that is the whole tutorial from start to finish. Now, obviously, you can go into more detail with this and touch bits up that you want, but now you can see what it looks like to automate that process. To get access to all the resources that I've used in this video, go to my free school community and you'll be able to get access to everything I've used. If you are a business and you'd like to automate your quotation process in a similar fashion to this, then go to the Calendly link in my description and you can book in a discovery call with myself. But that is all for this video, and I'll catch you in the next one.